Well, welcome. We're going to do a quick panel discussion because, it's been a long day. I think there's two people that should have introduced their organization. And I'm going to start, I think, with our neighbor, our Belgian neighbor. You're from Belgium? Yeah? Can you just explain to us what is eco-power?
Okay, there's just a citizens cooperative. So energy cooperative like Sophie from Zuidhand. It's very popular in Flanders, in Belgium. I think all over Europe now it's very popular, since also the European Commission has recognized this movement of citizens' energy communities starting all over. And there was a directive in the end of 2018, two directives recognizing this kind of entities. And okay, EcoPower in Flanders has started over 30 years ago, and we have grown quite big. Now we are almost we are over 65,000 members.
Wow, that's a lot. Just normal consumers, normal citizens all over Flanders.
So, yeah. And the thing is that we produce all our own electricity.
Wow.
So we share assets, wind turbines, solar, and so on. And since the market was made free in the beginning of the year 2003, we became supplier. So citizens say, we get our own electricity at home, and the supply activity is done at cost price, so there's no profit on the supply activity.
Wow, that's interesting. And I guess with this new energy crisis going on, it's getting more and more popular probably.
We are very popular now, but we stopped welcoming new clients because we can only produce what we can produce with our own.
But 65,000 consumers. I don't think in the Netherlands we have sort of a similar thing. Does anyone know about a similar initiative? We don't have it. We only just have small corporate. 800. Yeah, 800 is like the maximum. So I think we should learn from you. Let me then go to Peter, because you work at the city of Rotterdam. Tell us about, you are working on a special V2G project. Can you explain it in, let's say, 1 minute? 2 minutes?
That's difficult. Is it work? 1 minute is difficult.
You can just come over here, because you're standing in the dark. Just come over, stand next to me and maybe all of you. Just come over here. That might be better.
I've led a pilot with BMW Total Energies in the city of Rotterdam to check if V2G can be as a power bank for our solutions for enough energy on our city locations for loading our garbage trucks. We have 120 garbage trucks and they all must be zero emission about 2030. And we are now focusing on battery electric because we don't know if there is hydrogen available at that time.
Yeah. And how does it work? I mean, I live in Rotterdam. I've never heard of it. So, but that's my fault, of course. But how does it? Where is it? Where do you get the energy and how?
The pilot was on location of Kleinpolderplein. The biggest location of the city where the garbage trucks are stalled. And we had use of those two BMW i3s. They were unique in the Netherlands, 3 of them in the Netherlands, 2 of them in Rotterdam, 1 by Eneco to use in private use. Wow. We've installed it in our local grid. And we used it for peak shaving. So we had a parameter in the grid, and when it was overridden, the cars were charging back.
Okay.
We also had a big BESS, a battery energy storage system. That's also a part of the pilot. That's our used BMW i3 batteries in that BESS, and totally in our pilot, the conclusion was that we can resize our electricity grid with 23%.
Wow, so that is the conclusion.
That's the conclusion.
Wow, that's amazing. That's a good result. I'm going to go to the AWB because, Marco, you were telling me that You are working on a very good project now. It has already got 20,000 members without even promoting it. And it's called AWB Energy. What is it?
Yeah, we started to deliver energy. We are an energy company, also with Henry de Jong. So we deliver energy for dynamic pricing, our tariffs. And it's a project. It's now it's a company. We are an association with several companies, and this is one company right now. And we have an ambition to keep mobility affordable for everyone. And mobility is getting more and more expensive. And the only way we think that mobility will be affordable in the future is driving an electric car, which is getting more and more expensive as well. But if you can charge your car at the lowest price, helping the energy grid, driving an electric car will be more affordable as well. So that's why we started an energy company.
Yeah. And it's already very...
Yeah, it's working right now.
Yeah.
Which is maybe because of the energy situation. It's quite logic that it's working. There is a lot of interest in dynamic pricing, but it's very nice to see what people are doing when they start thinking about energy cost, and that it differs from hour to hour, from day to day, and that you can see people changing their behavior by charging their car or using the energy or saving energy without any pressure on telling them to charge their car smart. They are willing to do it themselves because there is right now a lot of benefit in it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's interesting. We're gonna come back to you, Robert. We've heard so much about vehicle to X today. What do you find the most interesting part of that? For example, Gautan from the TU Delft, he explained all that sort of new projects, that trends that he's explaining. What do you find the most interesting trend?
Well, I think two things come to my mind from all the presentations that we've seen so far. If you remember the presentation from Mike from Lightyear just before, he was talking about the revenue, the potential revenue for V2G for the end user. And he also talked about the self-cannibalization effect of it. If you remember in the beginning, we asked the audience, when do you think that V2G will be mainstream? And everyone thought about 2030. If the uptake of electric vehicles is really what we want it to be, then by 2030 we already have around 2 million electric cars. And Mike showed that with around 2 million electric cars, suppose that they all do V2G, the revenue go down to already €200 per year, which is not a lot, I think.
No.
So
it was a good research.
Marco explained about the changing behavior. I can understand that with the high prices at the moment, but for €200, I hope.
But one of the things that we found out, I think, we do a yearly research on charging. One of the things that we found out is that people that are, are like economically driven, they change their behavior a lot, of course, of financial motives. But people that are sort of how do you call it? If you want to drive clean, if you want to do good, those people are not incentivized by money. So there might be a different reason, except for money.
Yeah. So what I see from user forums, from our own Facebook group, from WhatsApp groups, whatever, there are two reasons why people are very interested in this. One is because it allows them to make some money, and the other one is often to increase the self-consumption of your own solar panels energy, which is also a bit romantic idea, I think, because there's nothing wrong with selling it to the grid and buying it for the grid, at least when you don't overload the grid. But now with the high prices, it gets a lot of attention and interest from people.
Yeah, that's interesting. And what do you think was the most interesting? Where do you believe in the most, if you've taken everything into consideration?
In our construction is mostly energy storage. We use them as power banks. So we store the energy available when it's not needed for our production on the site, and we use that energy above the installation of we stayed in. So we had a lot of energy at night by charging our heavy vehicles.
Yeah. Okay.
So there is no money, no charging of no commercial benefits.
No, not for you.
Not
you don't think so, yeah.
Not for us.
Not for you. But when will it be economically beneficially for you think?
No, it's not commercial benefit because we don't handle in it.
Trade?
We don't trade it. Yeah. It is very interesting for us, so we don't have to invest in giant installations.
Okay. And what do you, Karel, if you look at, you also represent a big consumer organization. What did you find the most interesting thing?
It's quite amazing how things fall together, in fact. You have to realize that we started EcoPower as a citizens cooperative just to produce green electricity. And now, in just a few years' time, this electricity is also going to serve more and more to have sustainable heating and sustainable transportation. So this is new for us, but it comes very quickly. We can compare it with what we saw in the photovoltaic sector. Like, yeah, if I tell you 20 years ago, it was forbidden to connect in Holland, in Belgium, to connect the PV system to the grid. And now it's so common.
Yeah.
And the same will happen with this electric mobility and related to that vehicle to X, but it will go much faster. And for our members, the citizens of our cooperative, there are two main drivers. The first one was said already. This is to improve self-consumption. You have to, we have 65,000, over 65,000 members, but these are mostly people of the same family. So they consume the electricity also. So the number of clients we have is about 55,000. And half of them, more than half of them, have their own PV system. And this was very profitable because we also had this net metering, like in Holland, how it's called, soldering.
Yeah. Netting.
This is stopped now with the digital meter, but the digital meter allows you to do other things like injection in the grid with a battery and so on. So this is now for the people the main focus. How can I use my own electricity that I produced on my roof as optimal as possible?
Yeah.
And that's about this auto consumption you can improve from, let's say, 35% now without doing anything to 60, 65, 70% if you have a good
So
home
you
battery.
so you find the auto consumption, like you do it for you use your battery for your own good.
People regret that at the moment the sun is shining. Mm-hmm. A lot of electricity is on the grid, and you have grid losses. You lose money also. They prefer to keep it at home in the battery and use it in the evening.
And I think
that's the first focus. The second focus is that they suddenly realize that more than 30% of their CO2 emissions is related to mobility, and a big chunk is using their internal combustion engine car. And now switching to clean mobility, it's a double win. They reduce this CO2 emissions to zero, and they have the very good home battery. So there I see our members will really welcome this, and it will go very fast.
Yeah. Yeah, I believe in it. I think it's very good. But if you can give the microphone to Marco, what do you think about it? Because maybe he's talking about the innovators, and AWB is also known of knowing, the sort of advanced driver well.
We are not the innovators.
No, you're not. I didn't want to mention it like that. But what do you think, will be the most interesting part of this V2X discussion?
Yeah, I'm constantly wondering that. On the one hand, it's so damn difficult to introduce vehicle to grid with all the organizations working together in a smooth way that the consumer, everybody's telling consumer-centric approach, etc. But I'm doubting when I'm on a public charger and there is a smart charging program running and I'm part of it and my car is not charged as I expected, then I'm very frustrated. So everything has to come together in a perfect way that it suits the driver well, and then it's perfect. But that's really difficult, and that will take a long period. I think that will be reached. On the other hand, it's so simple. The cheapest energy is also the cleanest energy, and everybody understands that. So in your local home, where the car is at your front door, on your own parking place at the moment, then it's very easy to charge your car smart. And if there is the possibility to unload your car, it's financially very interesting.
Yeah.
But in that case, sharing a car is not so interesting anymore, because you want to use the car in the hours that you are not using the car for driving. Yeah. So it's such a complex situation that I think on a private home, people with an electric car, they are very interested in this technology. And if there is the technology, they will adopt it very well. If they are a front runner or not, even the ANWB members are going to charge and discharge their car if it is possible. I'm sure about it. We see it. We started the energy proposition in a belief that no one is interested in their energy bill and the way energy is produced and how it's spread and the problems with the grid. If we take a look at the clients from this dynamic pricing, we see them changing their behavior very fast. They like it. They're doing it constantly. They are constantly interacting in the app. It's I think it's that part in your private place. It's going faster than we can think. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too. And if even the AWB members are going to use V2X, I think we've reached the goal of our sessions, didn't we?
Yeah, we put something in the commune. It's the Royal Dutch Touring Club ANWB. For in the beginning, they asked the English name for it. Yeah.
Yeah. So there we have. Can I thank you very much for your participation? And yeah, I would say thank you. Give them a big applause.